Let me tell you, if you ever wake up in the dead of night to a frantic text saying, your driveway's blocked, there's a wedding or something going on, you better believe that's not the start of a normal day. That was me snapping up in bed like someone lit a fire under me, staring at my phone in disbelief, thinking maybe I'd finally lost my mind after all those HOA meetings. But I looked out the window, and there it was. Headlights snaked down my gravel drive. Cars honking like a parade, people pouring out carrying coolers, dragging lawn chairs, kids running wild with glow sticks. It looked like my peaceful cabin had turned into the county fair overnight. Now, I know you might be thinking I'm exaggerating, but trust me, you couldn't make this stuff up. The instant I stepped outside, barefoot, cold dew biting at my toes, I got smacked in the face by the smell of barbecue and the sheer insanity of it all. First person I meet is a guy in a floral shirt asking where the bathroom is, like I'm some kind of staff. Two women haul a keg up onto my porch, barely glancing at me. Kids are running through my yard like it's summer camp, and meanwhile I'm still trying to wake up thinking maybe this is a nightmare and any second now I'll hear my alarm. But no. Because just as I'm about to regain my bearings, here comes Karen. Yeah, Karen. Arms crossed, glittery shawl, barking orders and strutting around like she owns the place. She waves at me, smug as can be, and says, "Don't worry, you'll get used to it. It's a community event." Like I'd signed up to host a circus on my property. I told her, "What is going on here?" But she just shrugged. "People need a place, and you weren't using the cabin anyway." Like my rights were just optional. She'd set up tiki torches in my lawn, had a whole crowd cheering when she announced the DJ was about to start. My deck suddenly strung up with fairy lights and a sound system I'd never seen before. It hit me right then, this wasn't some spur-of-the-moment party. Karen had planned this, invited half the town, and picked my place as her personal banquet hall. Some guys shoved trays of wings into my hands, mistaking me for the hired help, and I'm standing there, the actual owner, holding dinner for strangers on my own porch. There's a point where disbelief turns into anger, and, buddy, I crossed that line fast. I tried to shout above the music, told them all to leave. But Karen just clapped her hands, signaling the crowd, and the place erupted in cheers. She'd staged a coup on my land and was loving every second. A bartender set up on my deck, teenagers firing off sparklers by the lake, even a makeshift photo booth on my porch swing. I felt invisible, a ghost in my own home, watching my life hijacked in real time. So I pushed through the crowd, determined to talk sense into Karen, but she just whipped out her clipboard and started checking off names. "The sheriff won't side with you," she whispered. "I've already taken care of everything." My stomach dropped. Did she mean it? More cars arrived, headlights stretching further down the road, neighbors peeking from their windows. Some shaking their heads, others snapping photos. If humiliation burned calories, I'd have run a marathon that night. But here's where things took a turn. I reminded myself, this is my land, my cabin, and tonight you picked the wrong guy to cross Karen. I storm through the mob now. Some cowboy in a hat yells, "Best party in years," and for a second I almost laughed. But then I spotted Karen near the grill, glass of wine in hand, presiding over her so-called kingdom. I demanded to know what gave her the right, and she just smiled, said it was for the greater good that the HOA could utilize properties. I told her flat out she was trespassing. She laughed in my face, telling me I never used the place anyway. That hurt more than I care to admit. She'd already turned the crowd against me, spun some story that I was the party pooper, the bitter recluse. People actually booed me for asking them to leave my own house. A drunk guy shoves a hot dog at me. "Lighten up, buddy." That was when I knew arguing logic was pointless. So I told Karen to show me a permit. She flashes a photocopy of the HOA newsletter with summer activities underlined in red pen like, that's a legal document. I held it up, shouted, "This isn't a permit, this is garbage." The crowd didn't care, too busy stuffing their faces and taking selfies. And then the circus really kicked off. Fog machines, raffle tickets for some beautification project, lawn chairs, charging for parking, all on the same property. I got fined for leaving my grass an inch too high. The hypocrisy made my blood boil. Karen leaned in, smirking. "You think the sheriff will help you? I've got friends in town. You'll look like the villain." So I did the only thing I could. I started recording everything. Every cooler, every illegal extension cord, every kid cannonballing off my dock. Karen mocked me, called me petty, but I knew documentation was my only defense. Twist as the night dragged on, even some guests started realizing they'd been duped. A few muttered about leaving kids, were yanked off the dock, and suddenly Karen ramped up the spectacle, karaoke contest prizes, trying to whip the crowd back into a frenzy. I thought, okay, you want a show, I'll give you one. I went inside, called the sheriff. My hands were shaking, adrenaline and rage, and just a touch of satisfaction that maybe tonight would be the night she finally faced the music. As soon as I stepped outside again, Karen was trying to save face, shouting, "Sheriff's not coming, he's my friend." But now people were checking their phones, looking uneasy, and some started packing up quietly. I watched her desperate, waving that newsletter like a flag. But nobody was saluting anymore. When the first red and blue lights finally flickered through the trees, you could feel the mood shift. Karen froze mid-sentence. Guests started grabbing their kids, loading up cars, some demanding refunds from the donation jar she'd set up. The sheriff pulled up cruiser headlights, painting the crowd like a scene out of a bad sitcom. Karen tried to play it cool, strutting up with her clipboard, announcing it was an HOA-sanctioned event, that I was just the neighborhood Grinch. But the sheriff, bless him, wasn't having it. He asked for a permit. Karen handed him that same crumpled newsletter. He took one look, then crumpled it in his fist, dropped it at her feet. You could almost hear her crown crack. Guests started yelling, packing up the whole scene, dissolving into chaos. She screamed about her rights, threatened lawsuits, tried to rally her loyalists, but it was over. The sheriff told her flat out she was trespassing, disturbing the peace, maybe even committing fraud with her donation racket. The word fraud had her turning pale. People demanded their money back, snapping photos as proof of her meltdown. When the dust settled, the place looked like a battlefield. Paper plates everywhere, busted railing trash floating in the lake. Karen was left red-faced and fuming, arms crossed like a child caught in a lie, sheriff writing her a citation as she muttered threats under her breath. "You'll regret this," she hissed, eyes burning with hate, but nobody was listening. The sheriff handed me his report, assured me it was all documented, and drove off. The music was gone, the silence almost holy. I stood there looking at the mess, and I laughed a little. The absurdity of it, the sheer audacity. Karen had wanted to humiliate me, but in the end she just exposed herself. I cleaned up what I could, slept like a rock for the first time in weeks. Days later, the HOA held a meeting, the whole neighborhood buzzing about the great gala fiasco. Karen tried her same old routine, claiming it was all a misunderstanding, but this time the board wasn't buying it. People demanded refunds. The board announced a formal investigation. Rumors flew that county officials might press charges for her donation scam. I'll be honest, seeing Karen's smug confidence finally crack was better than any fine or citation. Vindication, not just for me, but for every neighbor who'd suffered her petty tyranny. And sure, she'll probably try again, maybe with less glitter, more paperwork, but her power's broken now, her credibility gone. And as I sit on my porch swing, lake shimmering in the dusk, I know the real victory isn't just that she got caught. It's that the balance finally shifted. She learned in front of everyone that this land is mine, this cabin is my sanctuary. And you can't just rewrite the rules when the truth shows up with a badge and a notepad. So here's my question for you. What would you have done in my shoes? Stand your ground or let the circus roll over you? Drop a comment. Tell me if you've ever faced down a neighbor like Karen. Let's hear your stories about justice, about standing up for what's right, because sometimes all it takes is one wild night for the truth to finally come out.